Today, I'm going to do some moves that we would do in a bar class. And also, I have some light hand weights. So I got these little guys. They're just 2 pounds. You might have some hand weights and you might not. I oftentimes do the same work without any hand weights because you still feel it in your shoulders. You don't need weights. And like I said, these are only 2. So if you do use weights, I wouldn't use anything over 5. I would stay actually lighter than that if I were you. So I also have, you'll notice, I've just got my kitchen table chairs out here. And we're going to use that to lean on sometimes for some of the moves. So you might want to have a chair handy, or, you know, the kitchen counter, something that's not going to slide around on you and move on you. Alrighty, so let's start with our quote. Let's see what happens. I just finished teaching a Zoom class, and the one that I picked out for that class, I didn't like it. So I was like, I'm picking a different one. So I reserve the right to pick a different one. Oh, this one's bent. Don't just do something, stand there. The opposite of the don't just stand there, do something. This is Rochelle Meyer. Don't just do something, stand there. Think about that today. Okay. Alrighty, why don't we start still with a little core warm up. So we will be lying on the back. We'll do a couple bridges, and then what we'll do is we'll come up to standing, and we're going to do some arm work standing, and then we'll work with the chair standing, and then we'll come back to the mat to end, I think. And let me just start my little timer here. All right, so no more than 20 minutes from here. Okay. I'll bring my weights back here. All right. So lying down on the mat. Feet hip distance apart. And when I say feet hip distance apart, I don't mean our outer kind of fleshy part of the hips, right? But in line with the hip joint. And the heels are relatively close back to the glutes, as far as comfortable on those knees, and we'll take our arms to our sides. Right, so before we actually go into the bridge, let's just do some pelvic tilts and tucks, right? So when you do an anterior tilt, the pubic bone kind of does a little dive down toward the mat, and the front hip points roll more forward toward your thighs. And then as we exhale, let's tuck the pelvis under so that pubic bone kind of curls back up towards you and you feel your lower back flatten. Now the hips don't leave off the mat, so we're just keeping the hips down and just tilting and tucking. Inhale, tilt, and exhale, tuck. Now, can you feel, I can feel it in me, when I tilt, I feel change in my back. So what that tells me, and not just the lower back, because you should feel it there, but I feel it all the way up my neck. I'm kind of tight in my back because it's kind of getting dragged along with it. That's all right. I'll work on that. Let's just do one more time. Tilt. And we'll tuck. And then we'll just come to a neutral pelvis. Right? So you feel all 10 toes, the outer edge of your feet, the center of your heels. We'll try to keep those inner arches lifted a little so we're not flattening them down. We'll take an inhale, prepare. As we exhale, we're tucking the pelvis under. You feel that lower back flatten. You're peeling the back off a vertebra at a time, coming onto the shoulder girdle. Think of those knees kind of stretching forward though, like reaching over your toes. We'll take our inhale and then exhale slowly back down again. We're lowering down a vertebra at a time, rolling through that lower back, and then we'll take the pelvis back to neutral. We take our inhale, exhale, tucking the pelvis under. Make sure you're not rolling out to the outer edges of your heels, right? So the center of the heels pushing into the mat. We lift up. We take that inhale at the top of the bridge. Exhale slowly back down again. We take our inhale, exhale, tuck the pelvis under, we lift up. Knees reach forward. We take that inhale, exhale, slowly back down. Now this next time we come up into the bridge, let's stay up there, okay? So we'll take our inhale, exhale, tucking the pelvis under. We're lifting up. Now once we lift up, we're just pausing here, right? So noticing where you're feeling engagement. I want the glutes and the hamstrings to feel it. It's not in the lower back. And if anything, you're trying to almost find a slight tuck under the pelvis. Keep that lower back as long as possible. And the knees are reaching forward. So we're stretching open through those quadriceps and into some other hip flexors. Right? We'll take another inhale. Exhale, let's come all the way down. Once we're all the way down, we're gonna bring our legs into a tabletop, right? That 90 degree at the hip and the knee. We're gonna squeeze the legs together. So actively squeeze them in. You feel the inner thighs engage. You pull up on the pelvic floor. We're gonna reach the arms up toward the ceiling. This is actually technically called a 100 prep. We'll do the 100 sometime, but let's just do the prep right now. We'll take our inhale, exhale, we'll curl up. And then inhale back down. So a couple things you're watching for. Keeping the legs still so they're not kind of moving around in space. Sometimes there's a tendency to kind of pull the knees in towards you, but you're not pulling the knees toward your torso. You're taking the torso towards your knees. The other thing to do is keeping that belly in tight, right? So the navel's dropping down toward the mat. Don't let it push up to the ceiling. Exhale, we come up, pull the belly in, squeeze those inner thighs together, inhale down. Let's do 2 more times. We lift up, we lower down. 1 more time, we lift up, we lower down. We'll let the feet come down. Just a little Supta Baddha Konasana, a little butterfly stretch, right? Let the soles of the feet come together, they open out. Now in this, make sure that you're not just kind of letting your pubic bone dive down and you're going into that arch, right? So trying to keep more neutral to a slight tuck under the pelvis. Just feel the back of the rib cage against the mat. We'll take another breath. And then we'll come up to standing. All right, so grabbing your weights or not if you don't want to use them. And if you do choose to use weights and you want to change your mind, right? They're starting to get heavy. You can always, put them down. Perfectly fine. We're going to stand in what's Pilates V. It's also a ballet first position. So it's this external rotation of the thigh bone and the hip joint. Now, we're not trying to maximize them at like you might see a ballerina where their feet are really wide because that can put some tension in the knees, and we're not trying to do that. So you just got about maybe a fist distance between your feet. But you've zipped up those inner thighs. Think of the inseam zipping up and not coming up into the pelvic floor. We've got our arms down at our sides and the palms are facing in. Shoulder blades are down your back. Right? The head's reaching up toward the ceiling. We inhale to prepare. Exhale, let's lift the arms up to about shoulder height and then inhale back down. And so as you exhale and lift up, be mindful what's happening with your shoulder blades. You don't want them lifting up. So they stay down your back. The front of your ribs are pulled in. The belly's pulled in. So there's core work happening just to keep yourself steady, right? So you're pulling up on the pelvic floor, lower belly is pulling in, and the front of the ribs pull in. Now, the next time we lift the arms up, we're going to hold them there, turn the palms to face up. Now we're in external rotation of our shoulder joint. So really good for, spending all that time on the computer and stuff, right? Because we're in internal rotation a lot. We'll take our inhale, exhale, let's lift the arms up to the ceiling, and then inhale, lowering down. Easier for those shoulder blades to want to shrug up as you lift up, so be mindful of that. Try to keep them down. Exhale. And inhale. Are your inseams still actively squeezing together? Right? You'll feel the glutes engaged too, so tush is a little tight. Not overly squeezing, but you feel it. Exhaling as you lift. Inhale, lowering. We've got 2 more. 1 more. Hold those arms up there, a tricep press. Now keep the weights separate. So a lot of times you see them with the weights together and they drop behind the head. I want you to keep them separate and then drop and straighten. It'll just keep the weaker arm from being helped by the stronger one, okay? As you bend the elbows, try to get them to point as forward as possible so they're not winging out to the side. Two more. And then we'll bring those arms all the way down. So I'm just going to turn to the side, maybe so you better see. I've got my feet, I've changed my position. They're parallel and about hip distance apart. I'm going to have a little bend at the knees and a little hinge at the hips. It's not allowing the chest to kind of drop forward, right? And you're not rounding your back. So we want to try to keep that neutral spine. We're going to do some tricep presses. Back to those triceps. So we've got the weights in our hands, palms facing back behind us, and we take the arms back. Okay. Now your head's just a natural extension of the spine. Sometimes it's tempting to kind of look forward or drop the head down, and I may do that myself, but we'll try to keep that neutral position. And we're going to pulse those arms up. All right, pulsing. Ribs are pulled in, belly's in. So belly and back's working together to hold that neutral position. Another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Try to hold the arms back there. And now instead of pulsing up, we're going to pulse them toward each other behind your back. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, another 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5. Don't shrug the shoulders. 4, 3, 2, 1, and we relax. We're done with these. Not too bad. All righty. So I'm going to bring my chair. All right, so bringing out your inner ballerina a little, all right? So you're gonna be standing with your side body to the chair or your counter, whatever you're using, and you're gonna bring your feet into that Pilates V, kind of zipped up, belly is in, the outside arm is going to come up. And you'll come into plantar flexion of the ankle. So it's lifting the heels up. So you're on the toes and the balls of the feet. Now, I recognize this could be uncomfortable with your neuromas. If you find that to be the case, you can lower the heels a little bit, right? You don't have to lift up as high as I do. They can just be floating off of the mat. It's still enough to strengthen the muscles through the feet and up into the ankle. But again, if that is still too uncomfortable, the feet flat. All right. So we keep our head over our rib cage over our hips. As we inhale, we bend the knees, we lower down. As we exhale, we come back up. Now, as you bend the knees and lower down, making sure that you do keep the hips more in line underneath the rib cage, right? So I see this a lot where people go and stick their tushy back. Don't stick the tushy back, right? Down and up. Every time you come up, you're squeezing those inner thighs together. Belly's pulled in. Now let's come down into our plie, into that diamond shape. We're going to hold here, squeeze those sits bones closer together, and little pulses for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and let's lift all the way up, and then we'll come down. Alrighty, so we're gonna side bend and rest our forearm on your surface. And there is some lateral flexion of the spine here. So you try to find this kind of scooping underneath. So it's not just kind of leaning over into it, right? We're gonna take the outside leg. We're gonna take it out. The outside arm comes up. So we're going to be doing a crunch for this outer side. When we come into the crunch, I want the elbow to come off of the chair, the hand won't, okay? And then when we come back down, the elbow rests again. So we'll take that inhale, and as we exhale, come into that side crunch. Inhale, reach. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, reach. Be mindful that you're not just trying to bring your elbow and knee together, right? So you're really laterally flexing the spine. We're going to do 2 more. Last one. And we stretch it out. Now, keeping your forearm onto the chair, arm comes down, leg comes up. Dorsiflex. So you're pointing the toes toward the front. Belly is in, and we'll do 10 pulses up. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we'll bring it down. All right, so we'll do the other side. So the one thing that we're going to be doing different is instead of first position, this Pilates V, we're going to be in second position, a wide turnout. Okay. Still have the one hand on the chair for a little support. The other arm is going to come up. We're going to be lifting those heels again, your level of comfort. Flat heels are fine. Belly is in. We inhale. We bend the knees. We come down. Exhale, lifting up. Come down and up. Hips stay underneath the rib cage. Don't shoot it behind you. And trying to activate those glutes and hamstrings. Think of the back of the legs. Otherwise, it's just like a quad party and nothing else happening. So squeeze those glutes, squeeze the back of the legs. Inhale down, exhale up. We'll come down. We are going to hold here and our little pulses for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4. If your heels are lifted, make sure you're pressing into that big toe and the ball foot. And then we come all the way up. And then the feet come down. Alrighty, into our side bend. Leg reaches out. Now, your hips, rib, and head are all on the same plane, right? So we don't start leaning forward or pushing the hips behind us. So we try to keep that front hip pretty darn flat. Arm comes up and over. Relax that shoulder away from your ear. We'll take our inhale, exhale into that side crunch. Inhale, lengthen. Exhale, crunch. Inhale, lengthen. Remember getting that side bend, not just bringing elbow and knee together. Find length when you reach out, and then short, right, when you crunch. One more time. And we lengthen out. We'll keep the forearm resting down. Oh, we're at 17, almost 18 minutes. Almost to the end, Kim. All right, so we got the arm out, leg lifts up, that dorsiflexion, and our little pulse is up for 10, 9, 8. You can have a micro bend in that standing leg if you want. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then we come all the way down. Lovely. So last little thing we're going to be doing, facing the chair. All right, so facing the chair, we're going to step the right foot back. Okay? It's not a huge, like you're going to go into warrior kind of step, but a decent step back. And then you're going to bend both knees. So as you bend both knees, so that right knee's in line underneath the hip, the left knee over the heel. And we'll just do little pulses up and down. Squeeze the glutes. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Let's step that right foot forward. We'll step the left leg back. Bending both knees. Knees are in line with the hips, so make sure they're not caving in, okay? Shoulders are back and down, and let's pulse for 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and we step forward. I'm going to take my chair off. Not that it really matters, really not in the way, but we'll stand with our feet parallel and about hip distance apart. So we're just going to end with a roll down. So the legs are straight, but you shouldn't feel like the knees are locked. So we're not feeling rigid and the legs are strong. We'll take our arms down to our sides, that external rotation of the shoulder joints so the palms are facing forward. Make sure that the ribs didn't flare open, they're pulled in. As we inhale, let's circle the arms out to the sides, the palms are still facing forward, and then up toward the ceiling. Relax the shoulders away from the ears. As we exhale, chin comes toward the chest, and we start to roll forward and down. Think of the biceps staying by the ears as you roll down. So you roll down through the spine, a vertebra at a time, finding that stretch in the back, eventually coming into a full forward fold. You can have some bend in your knees, perfectly fine. And then taking a moment, you might want to take the hands and walk over to one side, right? You feel that stretch, particularly in the QL, that lower back. We'll go over to the other side. And then, maybe just let that head release and hang. Let the spine get just a little longer, so give in to gravity. So have that feeling of surrender. If you sent all of your weight back into your heels, bring more forward into the toes and the balls of the feet. Take an inhale. As we exhale, we start to come up, right? So keep the arms alongside the ears. Belly pulls in, pull up on the pelvic floor. Pelvis comes up right. And then we're restacking the spine a vertebra at a time. The head's going to be the last thing to come up. And then we'll take the arms down.